withdraw extortion or do you not withdraw extortion in the context of your criticism of the White House?
Well, I believe in the idea of BP paying all of this off. What I don't believe in is politicizing this fund. It shouldn't be run out of the White House. It shouldn't be run out of the administration. It should be run out of the system we already had set up, Geraldo, which is through the courts. That was the context of my remarks.
Welcome back. There's probably one American congresswoman, Republican congresswoman, that Democrats would most enjoy defeating in November. That's Minnesota's Michele Bachmann. You just saw her. They're rather confused with Geraldo Rivera. And the person who ought to beat her, tries to beat her tonight, is on our here tonight. There she is, State Senator Tarryl Clark. Thank you very much for joining us. What possessed you to have the stuff to take on Michele Bachmann in her home situation there? Isn't she popular or isn't she? Tell me what the situation is at home for Michele Bachmann.
Well, Chris, it's great to be on here, and let's face it, Washington still isn't working for families in Minnesota or around the country, and Michele Bachmann certainly isn't. People are struggling to make ends meet. We have the highest unemployment, highest foreclosure rate in the state, and all the while she's seeking celebrity status and off following her own agenda instead of fighting for the people of the 6th District. And this whole incident, this continued ongoing horrible disaster with BP is just an example, and really is a defining moment in this campaign. It shows who Congress Bachmann really is.
Well, what made her want to become Joe McCarthy, of all people, rather than worrying about the people of the district? Here she is in 2008 when we discovered her, launching what sounds like a McCarthyite crusade to start a new Red Scare in Congress. Here she is.
What I would say is that the news media should do a penetrating expose and take a look. I wish they would. I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America? I think people would love to see an expose like that.
Weren't there any books in her house when she was growing up? Why would she want to go back to the horrendous days of the McCarthy period where everybody's looking under everybody's bed to see if they're a commie or not?
You know, I can't speak to what her motivation was, but what I can say is that was the start of what the people of the 6th District have seen over the last 2 years. You know, stomping your feet, having rallies at taxpayer expense, sending out campaign-style literature. None of those things has done a dang thing to put food on a family's table, keep hardworking people in their homes, or bring them back to work. And that's what I want to stand up and fight for.
Is your district a middle-of-the-road district or a Republican district?
I'd say it really is a district that focuses on the person, not the party. You know, it really is about things like, can we send our kids to college? Can we afford to retire? Can we expand our small business, have good roads? So I'd say it is pretty middle of the road. It's voted for Senator Amy Klobuchar over Mark Kennedy and his home turf, voted for Jesse Ventura as governor, and it's voted for Tim Pawlenty.
Okay.
It's also voted for Tarryl Clark in my district.
Okay, let's put you in the hot seat. You're on Hardball. Ready? Ms. Clark, you're state senator.
Right.
Here's the question. Would you have voted for the health bill as it came to the House floor? Before it came in, would you have voted for final passage or not?
Ultimately, I would have, but Chris, that bill was flawed. It was flawed. It didn't do enough for cost containment. But what it did do is, for the first time, women across the country are going to be able to get affordable health care when they're pregnant. It's going to get rid of pre-existing conditions, help close that dreaded Medicare Part D donut hole. And so if I was there, I would have been negotiating for better costs, just like we have done in Minnesota. We have some of the lowest cost and best outcomes in the country, and I would have been there fighting for better protection for those things.
Okay, I figure Michele Bachmann for a hawk. Are you a hawk? Would you have supported the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan? Would you support keeping troops in both those countries for a while now, in the near future? Would you keep the troops in those countries now? Let's go to the president. If you have to vote when you get into Congress, would you keep the troops in Afghanistan and in Iraq?
First off, my dad and 2 of my brothers served in the Navy. I've worked hard on veterans and military family issues, and I will continue to do so in Congress. The past administration was misguided when they went into Iraq. They took the eye off of the terrorists in Afghanistan. I support the withdrawal in Iraq, and we need to get the job done and go after the terrorists so al-Qaeda can't go after us again.
So how long would you keep troops in Afghanistan?
Till we get the job done. But I have always focused on, let's make sure that we are supporting what the president is doing, bring our people back home as fast as possible, and make sure that our men and women have the tools and equipment they need. Let's face it now, with using so many citizen soldiers, we need to make sure with all these redeployments that we're really taking care of our families and our men and women as well.
Okay, let's talk to the hottest issue in the country right now.
Congresswoman Bachmann hasn't done.
Okay, let's talk about the issue that she's taken a real bite hold of. She's come out and said BP basically is being pushed around by this president. And then she's not saying they're the good guys, but she's saying basically they seem to be the victims of a president who's using Chicago-style politics, who's basically beating them up, pressuring them to spend the $20 billion. Would you take that position, or what would you take? Are you pro-BP, anti-BP, or where?
I'm pro the taxpayers of our country. She's pro-BP. I'm pro protecting our jobs, the environment, and the taxpayers. And she has come out several times saying she's worried about BP being fleeced or being chumps. I don't want the taxpayers to be fleeced or chumps. This is BP's oil spill. They need to clean it up.
Thanks for coming on Hardball. We'll have you back again. Please come on again. Tarryl Clark, who's running against Michele Bachmann. Michele Bachmann, by the way, is always welcome on this program, especially if she's willing to take on Rush Limbaugh for the first time in her life.